On October 14th, 2025, Microsoft ended support for Windows 10, leaving 400 million PCs open to attack. These devices contain bank information and personal photos, and as soon as hackers find a way in, it's all going to be stolen. The problem is Microsoft is still making updates for 3 more years for their business clients. They are doing the work, but they're choosing not to give the updates to you. The only option they give you is to upgrade to Windows 11, which is a slow, spyware-infested abomination from hell. I am sick and tired of big tech companies making choices about devices you paid for and which you own. And in this video, I'm going to share why you should not accept this move from Microsoft and teach you how you can escape the control of these big tech companies. Enough is enough, so let's dive in. Here's the real question nobody's asking. Why Windows at all? Have you ever considered why you are using Windows in the first place? Now, I grew up as an average person. I grew up in the 90s, and when I was a kid, my parents bought the first personal computer, and I was just basically put in front of it and said, okay, just figure it out. So this is what my generation grew up with. That PC would always contain Windows. And as I went through school, through university, and through my first jobs, I was never ever exposed to anything else but Windows. And yes, I might have seen Mac OS in some niche cases, but at least in Western Europe, this was not very common. I think it was more common in the States, but I was hardly exposed to Mac OS at all. So in my world, in my view, in my limited sort of bubble in the world, I was never exposed to the idea that there would be a different way of running your computer. And as I was reflecting on this led me to the following insight. Rousseau said, "Man is born free, yet everywhere he is in chains. And the worst chains are the ones you don't realize you're wearing." If you are using Windows right now, you are not using it because you chose it. Society trained you to accept that Windows is the operating system you should use. If you do not choose your computer's operating system, you will be assigned one. The choice is yours. Do you want to live a life where other people decide for you? Do you submit to digital slavery by blindly accepting what big tech decides? Now, I can tell you that I refuse this. I refuse to let anyone else decide over my life and the actions I take and how I spend my time. And if there was one word that has basically been the guiding principle of my life over the past 15 years, that word would be autonomy. Autonomy means the quality or state of being self-governing. And with that, I mean that you are in control over your own choices and your own life. You govern yourself. You take the leadership over your own life. And rather than letting society assign you work and assign you operating systems like Windows, I would much prefer to just make that choice myself out of several different options. So autonomy is a very important word for me. It's the guiding principle of my life, but it was not always the case. Now, there was a time in my life where I was not autonomous at all. You see, I am a recovering drug addict, and I was addicted to marijuana and alcohol, and I had to use that in order to fall asleep and to live a normal life, basically. I could not have any social interactions with people without drinking alcohol, being slightly inebriated, and I could not fall asleep without smoking marijuana. I could not sit at home and read a book or watch a video or something like that without smoking marijuana. If not, I would be completely uneasy, my mind would panic, and I basically could not live without these substances. So I was completely dependent on it, like having access to this every single day. Now, that is not autonomous at all. That is being enslaved to these kinds of substances. And one big reason why I was experiencing this was my work. I was working as a nurse in a hospital, and nursing is beautiful work. Don't get me wrong. It's like I truly felt that I could make a difference in the world by being there for the patients and giving them the best care that I could give them. But what I didn't like about it is that I had to show up at the hospital at a certain time. Then I would work a shift for a certain amount of hours. And then during that shift, I had to work according to the book, right? The specifications, which obviously is a good thing. We don't want nurses to start injecting medicines as they see fit. No, they have to like follow specifications. But it felt like I was being controlled. I had no choice in my life anymore. I had no control about when I would take a holiday, the amount of time off I could take. All of that was codified. Like there were X amount of days that I could take off, and I could only go away for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And I felt that I had no control over this. Well, this is my life. Like why should someone else control if I decide not to work for a while, right? That seemed like outrageous to me. But I felt trapped. I had rent to pay, I had to buy food, and I had to buy drugs. Like, don't get me wrong, this is an expensive hobby to have. So I felt completely trapped this way. I needed to smoke marijuana to fall asleep. Then this would, obviously, this deregulates your sleep rhythm. But as I was trying to like fix it or quitting or something like that, then I would have to work night shifts sometimes because that is part of being a nurse. And as I was doing that, that completely deregulated my sleep even more. And I could not decline those night shifts because that's part of being a nurse. So here I was, being completely dependent on substances. I had no choice whether I could use them or not. I had to show up at a certain place to work. I had to show up at a certain time. I had to do it according to a certain way. And my life was being lived for me. I had no choice at all anymore. And then one night, after my first bottle of vodka that day, I was sitting on the porch looking at the sky and thinking, is this really what life is about? Is this going to be my life? Like working and using drugs and watching video games? Is that really what my life was going to be about? And I mean, I knew what I wanted, right? I obviously was using social media, and I have always been very into computers, and I loved working with computers. So I always had this idea of, if only I could become a software engineer or become someone who works with computers, because then I could work remotely. I could maybe, like I saw these guys driving around in camper vans and working remotely, and I saw that and I thought, that must be the dream, right? But I felt I didn't have a CS degree, I had nothing. So I felt that I couldn't do it, right? But in that moment, as I was looking up to the sky, I decided that, okay, I'm either going to just accept that my life is going to be this way, or I'm going to make an effort to turn this around. So I got very clear on what I wanted from life. I wanted to be sober, I wanted to work from home, and I wanted to work in the tech industry. Like I had a very clear picture of that was what I wanted to do. And now 9 years later, here's what my life looks like right now. I've been completely sober for 7 years now. No alcohol, no nicotine, no marijuana, nothing. Completely sober. I'm a senior DevOps engineer and a Microsoft MVP. I own a business that I work on full time. I don't have a boss anymore. I am my own boss, and I'm in complete control of what I work on, where I work, when I work, and with the people I work with. I'm in complete control of that. And now every day I get to help other people achieve the same. I get to help other people achieve their remote tech career in the industry and turning their lives around so that they can achieve the same results as me. And this is what autonomy looks like to me. Like I don't have to show up at an office anymore and report to a boss who tells me what to do or which stories what do I work on. I can actually decide what I work on, what content I create, which people I want to coach, which technology I want to learn, which freelance clients I take. Like every day now I'm getting offers from people asking me to work, to do freelance contracts for them in the Kubernetes space. Well, I can choose now, like, oh, I think this is an interesting project to work on, let's do it. Or maybe a company does not align with my own values. Well, I will simply decide not to do it. So I get to work where I want, with whom I want, and I don't even have to leave my house. Now, this is what true autonomy looks like to me. But I didn't start here, right? Of course, I was working as a nurse, so I had to start somewhere. And I will leave the whole journey for maybe a different video. Comment below if you're interested in hearing the complete journey. But when I decided to do this, like it was by it was not an easy path. It was not something that happened overnight. Like, I worked my ass off to achieve this. But I did do it, and I did manage to do it. But it was a journey of stages. Like, I did not go from nurse to independent business owner. I, of course, had to work as an employee for a while. And getting a tech job is a great start. I mean, you can easily make six figures if you learn Kubernetes these days. So getting that job is a great starting point towards like true autonomy. I use that as a stage because I envision myself to drive around in a camper van and work remotely, right? Well, I had to learn the skills along the way in order to achieve that dream. While even when I was an employee, there were still times where I felt I had no control, that I wasn't completely autonomous. You know, when you work somewhere and then they will organize these office parties or like these Christmas gatherings or something like that. And I really hate those. I don't want to show up to events and then be there with colleagues. Like, I have nothing against being with colleagues, and I liked my colleagues that I was working on, but I would like to do that in the hours that I am working with them. And I don't want my employer to force me to show up to some sort of event just because they say so, right? And there's a very subtle thing here, because of course you can choose not to do it, but then you get this sort of, oh, I missed you at the party last week. Or your manager will tell you, hey, why are you not coming to the Christmas party? I saw you decline the invitation. I fucking hate this. I hate this sort of manipulation where they want you to come to their party because they spend a lot of money on it. Well, deep inside, I just don't want to go. I don't want to go. And because they say these things, I feel that I cannot say no. So even while I was in that tech job, I was still not feeling completely autonomous. So I worked that job for several years, and then I finally went my own way. As you can see, I'm very passionate about this, and I feel that I have so much more to share about reaching true autonomy in your life and becoming your own boss. I'm planning to make more content about this, so if you like this stuff, please subscribe and like, and let me know in the comments below if you appreciated me sharing this story and why I think autonomy is important, because here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Become someone who is completely self-governing, choosing what you work on, where you work, and who you work with, and how you live every single day. Autonomy isn't about making more money or working less. It's about the fundamental shift from being controlled by others to being completely self-governing in every domain of your life. So now I've explained why I think autonomy is so important. Let's circle back to where we started this video with Microsoft Windows, right? Windows 10. And Microsoft forcing you to update to Windows 11. Now, as someone who works in the tech industry, I spend maybe 12 hours a day on my computer. And I am very much living a digital life. So when you interact with a computer, you are interacting with software, right? And I think that a huge part of living an autonomous life and being self-governing, a very huge part of that lies in the software that you use, that you choose to use. So there's always an implicit value exchange in modern software. Like a lot of the software is either free or very cheap, but there's a reason why it's so cheap. It's because they can extract data from you and then sell that data to advertising companies so that they can target you with the right ads. That is how the model works. Like Gmail is free, but you get like 1 gigabyte free storage. But in order to get that 1 gigabyte of free storage, we're going to read through all of your emails, scan them, and make sure that you're going to see ads that are tailored to the content that you write in those emails. Now, Google claims not to be scanning your accounts anymore, but this is basically how it works, right? So in order to circumvent that, in order to get away from this surveillance society where your data is just being gathered constantly, one of the ways to do that is to take back control over the software that you run and choose self-hosted alternatives. And there are many, many options here that you can choose. And I've fallen completely in love with this journey, and I got into this because of my journey into the tech industry. You can live an almost completely digital sovereign life by choosing free and open source software and self-hosting your own infrastructure. Now, this requires a lot of skills. You can't just pick someone off the street and tell them to do this. And it's a journey. I'm not completely sovereign yet. I'm still relying on certain services, but it is something that I aspire to and that I work on slowly day by day, which is also something that I'm going to be sharing more about on this channel. Now, I want full control over my data. I want that to be placed on infrastructure that I own or that I at least have complete control over. I want to know exactly who has access to this data and how that data is being used. But most of all, I don't want big tech companies to decide whether I should upgrade to some spyware-infested nest like Windows 11, or when Microsoft decides your device is not allowed to run Windows 11, so you basically just have to buy a new one. That's literally what Microsoft is saying. There are 400 million PCs out there owned by people with personal data on it. Microsoft is just going to say, nope, you cannot even upgrade to Windows 11 because we think your device is not suited. So what are these people going to do? The average person is just going to keep running Windows 10, and as soon as some sort of exploit is being found, their stuff is going to get stolen, and the countdown has already started. So we've talked about why autonomy is important and how software plays a role in that. So now that we have set up the stage, we can now dive into why upgrading to Windows 11 is such a threat to your autonomy. Well, first of all, if you have tried to install Windows 11 on a device lately, they will do absolutely everything they can to force you into making a Microsoft account. And there are a few different workarounds, but Microsoft is spending a lot of resources in patching all of these. Like they truly want you to create that account. Like there's no way around it anymore eventually. Now, why do they want to do this? They want to do this because they need some sort of identity that they can connect all of this data to that they're going to be gathering about you. They want to create some sort of digital identity that they can then either use for their own purposes or resell to other companies and give access to these profiles, this data. Because it's probably no surprise to you if I say that Windows collects data about you. Like, it's common practice now in both Windows 10 and Windows 11. Microsoft collects data about the applications that you use, and then it's going to use that data to recommend other applications to you that you might be interested in. In other words, they're going to be showing you ads in the start menu. And like, I am horrified by this. I briefly tried Windows 11 6 months ago. I started it up, I installed an application, and then I opened the start menu and I saw ads there for like Candy Crush or some shit like that. And as soon as I saw that, I just literally just turned it off immediately and removed it, because I cannot live with an operating system that shows me ads. And even if you can turn them off, I don't want to use anything that is designed to show ads to me in the operating system. Like, it's not even on a website, it's in the operating system that you're using for 12 hours a day. It's completely mind-blowing to me that people accept this. If ads in the start menu weren't enough, Windows 11 will collect samples of your typing and speech input to improve its handwriting and voice recognition. This means parts of what you type or say to the computer, like through dictation or Cortana, might go to Microsoft's cloud for analysis. I'm going to repeat what I said because it's important. By default, Windows will track which apps you are using and use that for advertising other apps. It will send snippets of what you type or say to Microsoft. And while Microsoft provides some settings to control data collection, you cannot completely shut it off in standard Windows 11. So on Windows 11 Home Edition, you can turn off optional diagnostics, but basic telemetry will still run. And I did some research, and there are some ways of completely blocking it off, but let's be honest here. Do you genuinely want to use something that is designed to collect extensive data from you? Even if you can turn everything off, do you still trust them to do what they say? So the real reason why Microsoft is either forcing you to upgrade to Windows 11 or buy a new PC with Windows 11 on it, it is simple. The reason is that they want to farm as much data as possible about you. Why is it such a problem that Microsoft is farming data about me? I have nothing to hide. And I was like this myself. And to go deeper into this, I would have to make a separate video. The main problem here is, the main thing that I will say is that any data that is collected about you can be used against you. I'm not saying that Microsoft is doing evil things with your data or that Microsoft is evil for doing this. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if someone would, for example, steal this data from Microsoft, then it can be used against you in ways that you cannot imagine right now. Future governments might have a different perspective on personal data. Like, governments can change the rules that they make. Like, it's not that this is a permanent thing out there. If some government decides that they can access data and control the access to that data because they think it's necessary for public safety, then all of a sudden the data that like everything you've done on your computer is suddenly accessible to someone, to the government, or someone who steals that data. Now, if you truly think that you have nothing to hide, then just give me your email password and let me read through all of your emails. If the answer to that question is, oh yes, I will happily give you my password and you can read all of my emails, it probably is not, right? Because everyone has this sense of privacy. Well, it's the same thing, but you just don't experience it this way. Microsoft is gathering all of the data that you use on your computer. Every action that you do, it's being gathered. It's sometimes even screen recorded, and it's all linked to an account. And in the future, a government might change and say, oh, let's look into that account because we want to see what that person is doing. Any data that's collected about you can be used against you. Remember that. So now we know why you shouldn't use Microsoft 11, right? Because we don't want them to gather data about you, and we don't want Microsoft to force us to upgrade to an operating system that is basically mass surveillance. And they are forcing you to buy a new system even though your old device is perfectly capable of running Windows 10 still, right? So what is the alternative? I've been ranting for a long time now, but what should we do, Misha? As I said, I went through life for decades thinking that Microsoft was the only operating system out there. Society assigned Microsoft Windows to me, and I never really deliberated that choice. I never really thought about that I had a decision to make here. Well, nowadays you have control over this decision. And the alternative is Linux. Linux is an open source operating system which is developed by the community, so everybody knows exactly what's going on. And Linux is everywhere. 96% of the world's most important web servers are being powered by Linux. And every Android phone is powered by Linux. It's literally everywhere. But most normal people have no clue about that this is actually being powered by Linux. And if people know the word Linux, they usually associate it with a server or something that you can't use as a desktop PC, right? But that has changed. Like, there are now about 80 to 100 million people who are using Linux as their daily operating system. And I am one of them. I've been daily driving Linux for several years now, with a few short stints because of on macOS because of some consulting work that I was doing. But my main home workflow has been completely on Linux. Like, I'm recording this video on Linux even. I'm editing this video on Linux. You can literally live your life completely on Linux now, even as a content creator. And yeah, maybe you have heard about this before and you tried Linux a few years ago and then you had some problems with your sound and it didn't work really well. I was one of those people too. I've been there. But desktop Linux has made some huge advancements in the past few years. And even Arch Linux is not exciting anymore. Like, I'm running Arch Linux, things almost never break anymore. Screen sharing almost always works. The sound always works. So these problems have now been taken care of. And Linux is now at a state where you can comfortably use it as a user without super deep technical expertise. It is completely possible to run Linux. For example, one of my friends, he just created he took a laptop, he installed Linux on it for his father, and he just put an icon there called Internet, and that's all that man needed. He just wanted to visit the internet. And he just starts it up, opens the internet browser, and that's it. And even people who are not very technically advanced can totally use Linux for their daily work right now. So you can retake control over your digital life by switching to Linux. It's time to retake control over your digital life, and the first step towards this autonomy is to switch to Linux. When you switch to Linux, you regain control over your computer. There's no forced account creation with a big tech company. There's no telemetry. You don't have to jump through 100 hoops to disable all the spyware. There are no ads in your start menu and no expiration dates. There's no app store, and you can finally download programs again and run them as you please. Running Linux is what using a computer should feel like. You're in control of the software on a device you own without any expiration dates. This is the path towards digital autonomy. This digital autonomy has certain stages. So you begin as a complete noob, and then you start running Linux on a desktop PC and just using that for your daily workflow. And as you get more and more experience with Linux and knowing more about the internals and how to use the command line, this allows you to then maybe start running a server at home. But you have to start somewhere, and you can gain these skills by simply using Linux every single day. And if you gain these skills, you can slowly work yourself up to where you are hosting your own applications. For example, Audio Bookshelf instead of Audible, so you can host your own audiobooks and listen to them without any telemetry or anyone else watching. You can host your own media servers. I am using RSS feed readers where I gather all of the news without any advertisements, and then I read it from there. You can run Nextcloud to create your own Google Drive. And there's a whole world of software that you can run for free on your own servers. So this is the step towards digital autonomy. You start using Linux, and then you move towards being able to self-host applications and eventually running servers. Now here's the thing, knowing these skills is not just for digital autonomy, it will make you autonomous in your life as a whole, because knowing Linux skills are going to make you a lot of money. Let me explain. Most of the important computers in the world are powered by Linux. This means that there are a lot of jobs that require you to know Linux. If you want a job in tech, having Linux skills will benefit the following roles: software engineer, system administrator, DevOps engineer, cloud engineer, platform engineer, AI engineer, and infrastructure engineer. These roles generally command six-figure salaries and enable you to work remotely. So this was the path that I took. I decided, okay, I want this tech job. Where do I start? And at this point, I had been running Linux for myself as a hobby because I used to automate video games and I ran bot farms and stuff like that. Like I love to do this kind of stuff as a hobby when I was younger. So I already had experience with Linux, but I went deeper into it because I knew that Linux was the foundation of everything. And now when I teach my students, I tell them, forget containers, forget Kubernetes, forget coding. You have to start with Linux because everything spawns from there. So I went deep into the Linux fundamentals. I built my own Arch Linux system. And then I moved on towards containers and Kubernetes. So knowing Linux is going to help you in all of these roles. And this is also my own trajectory. Like I had some Linux experience from my hobbies and from my free time, but I went really deep into those fundamentals and learned Linux deeply before I moved on to other things. So now I'm working as a senior DevOps engineer. After learning Linux and doing system administration, I moved on to DevOps by learning Python and Kubernetes. And Kubernetes is where the money is these days. Like the average global salary of Kubernetes jobs is $171,000. Now, Kubernetes is basically a layer on top of Linux. And you can't really understand Kubernetes without understanding Linux. So if you learn Linux in your free time to get your own digital autonomy, you can translate these skills to high, well-paid tech roles in the industry. And this is the trajectory I went. And then you can go from employee to independent business owner, all inside of the same industry and using the same skills. Like I doubled my income simply by going from employee to a freelancer. And so this is what I mean with Linux being the gateway to an autonomous life. You start with your digital autonomy, then you get a good, well-paying job into it, and then you start your own business, controlling where you work, with whom you want to work, and what you work on. So Linux is the skill that's going to bring you this autonomy. That's what it did for me, at least. Learning Linux led me to the situation where I am in now, because learning Linux has brought me to where I am now. I'm an independent business owner making multiple six figures a year. And for many of those months a year, I can travel around Europe in my camper van while working remotely. I never have to go into an office. I can work from my own setup here on my own Linux computer and work on my own premises, where I want, with the people I want, on the projects I want. I know how to operate my computer on a deep level. I'm able to host my own open source software and know exactly what's going on inside of there and what data I'm sharing with whom. This is what I feel is a state of true autonomy. I encourage you to reflect on your current situation. Do you dislike your current job? Do you have to show up somewhere to do work that you don't really like? Or do you have a boss controlling what kind of work you do? And would you like to work remotely? Well, if you answered yes to any of these questions, then I think that what you truly desire is this feeling of autonomy and being in control over your own life. Now, if you don't know where to begin, you can check out KubeCraft by clicking the link below. KubeCraft is where I teach the craft of the Kubernetes engineer, and I've helped hundreds of people into remote six-figure tech jobs. But landing a well-paid six-figure job is just the first step towards autonomy. After that, we're going to work on self-hosting your entire infrastructure, building a home lab where you control everything, and then move you from a paid wage worker to an independent business owner. This is what I teach my students, and if that sounds like something that you're interested in, check out the link below. I have walked the path, I've built the complete system to achieve what I have achieved, going from drug-addicted nurse to sober, independent business owner making multiple six figures a year, working completely remotely. And I can teach you to do the same. But if you're not ready for that transformation yet, here's what I want you to take away from this video. Do not run Windows 10. If you keep running Windows 10, you are just waiting for hackers to come in and steal all of your data. My advice is to switch to Linux, and here's how I can help you here. In the pinned comment below this video, you will find a free Linux starter kit that you can use to install Linux on your first machine, and it will guide you on the first steps towards digital autonomy. It's completely for free, but I'm so passionate about helping people towards this journey, so I'm giving it away for free. Download it and start running Linux, because this is the moment to make that choice. You either choose to be assigned an operating system, or you take control over your digital life and start running something that is not a spyware-infested rat's nest, where you can have control over the data that you send out into the world. Take control, live an autonomous life. And if you like this video, please subscribe and let me know in the comments below if you want to hear me talk more about these kinds of topics. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.